Good evening. Today is Friday, the 23rd of July, 2021, and I'm Denise Miller. I am here to talk to you today about the word for Thursday. And first, I want to tell you a little story. My first intent was to do a word 2 days in a row on the two faces of pride. But then, as I began to research pride and look up the definition in the dictionary, I began to realize that there are not two faces of pride. Pride is the same thing, and what we consider as negative or harmful pride is actually pride, the actual characteristic of pride taken to a fault. So right now we're going to dispense with pride, and before that we're going to speak about humility. Humility is a very interesting characteristic. If you happen to be a person of faith, you know that we are encouraged to humble ourselves under God's mighty hand. People of faith are encouraged to be humble and not to think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. But the Bible never tells us to deny the good things about ourselves. The one thing, though, that we are to do is to understand that even with our gifts and even with what we do well, we do that at the behest of God. God has given us certain gifts to exercise in connection with the assignment that He has for us on our lives. We all have a purpose. That's what we call purpose now. We all have a purpose, and our purpose is very, very connected with our gifts. We come into this world with a certain set of gifts because of the purpose that we have. For instance, one of my purposes is to teach and to train. And so I come into this world with a gift of many words. And those of you who know me well know that I really do have a lot of words. However, it's okay to have those words as long as I don't think that I'm the only one who can express things well, because that's just not true. There are even people with few words that can express themselves much better in certain circumstances than I can with my many words. But let me read you a dictionary definition of the word humility, and it is this. It is freedom from pride or arrogance. It's the quality or the state of being humble, of being one who is not arrogant or who is not taking great pride in thinking that they got to where they got because of their own efforts. They realize that the efforts of others, the goodness of God, and providence have gotten them to where they are. Now, the Bible also describes humility as meekness or lowliness and absence of self. Now, meekness does not mean that you're shy and retiring and cowering under everything. It simply means that your strength is under your control, that you're not allowing yourself to get out of hand. You're holding yourself to a position of considering others better than yourself. So I want to ask you a question. How are you doing in the humility department? Sometimes being humble is very difficult. I know it is for me, and I don't think I'm that different from that many people. There is a book that my church used to read every year without fail by Andrew Murray, and the name of that book is Humility. And I am going to actually put the link in this description so that you can listen to it via YouTube chapter by chapter. And beyond that, I would ask you to just watch your reactions, watch yourself. Just take a look at how you're handling other people, because you will know immediately whether you are operating out of humility or out of pride. And just never forget that we accomplish what we accomplish because of God's goodness and not because of what we do. We didn't give ourselves our gifts. We may have cultivated them, but the gifts initially came from God. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening and a great weekend.